You were right there with him by his side. Your stepmother, Melania Trump, I think I read something about you saying they were actually trying to drive a wedge between Melania and your dad. Like it just went. And then I think about poor Barron, right? Your younger brother, who's like a kid during all of this. And I can't even imagine growing up. I mean, it's bad enough being Trish Regan's kid. I can't imagine what it was like to be Barron, who, doesn't have the age and wisdom of someone like you. He's still a kid.
Could you imagine if you picked up and you saw a husband or whatever, and they're talking about, I can't even, golden, I'm worried about saying the second word, and prostitution and making up all these stories. Now, this was all paid for by the Democratic Party. There was zero truth to it. In any fair world, these people would all be sued for slander, and frankly, they'd probably be imprisoned for slander. That's the extent of the fallacy that they created. But this was our government at work. They were paying for this crap, and they were orchestrating it all over the place. So if anybody doesn't think that the intent of that is obviously to defame, to embarrass, right? To act as the October surprise, something that is popped on you so late that you can't actually disprove it and you lose votes because of it. But you don't think those stories were directly intended to try and separate a family unit? They did everything they could to try and separate all of us and break us and divide us. You know how many times prosecutors came to me and said, hey, if you say anything about your father that's negative, we will let you go. No problem. You don't need to take this deposition. It was extortion at the absolute highest level. I talk all about it in the book. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to break us, and we never broke as a family.
Well, good for you guys and good for the country. So there are a lot of people in the media that say, oh, this is retribution. He's going to go after everybody because he's angry. But at the same time, I'm looking at it, and I remember talking to your dad when he was first time in office, and I said, hey, why didn't you go after Hillary Clinton, Mr. President? He said, Trish, you know what? She was the wife of a former president. And, she was the woman I was running against. Like, it wouldn't have been appropriate. It would have been Banana Republic-esque. I think he was so focused on making the economy better and doing the right thing by the nation, he wasn't interested in any kind of retribution. But the problem with that was they were, right? And they kept it going and going and going and going and going. And so it's sort of like, Eric, if you don't do something, right? If you roll over and play dead, then actually you're creating a disservice for the entire country and for every party in the future.
Jack Smith planted classified folders on the office floor of Mar-a-Lago. They raided his home and they said it was on behalf of NARA, National Archives. It wasn't on behalf of NARA. Joe Biden orchestrated the raid with Merrick Garland and everyone else. There has to be accountability, right? Hillary Clinton back in the day deleted 33,000 emails and then joked about, oh, haha, it's just bleach bit. You just bleach it. What do? You wipe it off. So funny. They wrote the dirty dossiers. They made up the Russia smears. Think about that. They pitted the two largest nuclear superpowers against each other for a period of 3 years so that some power-hungry older lady could get 3 more votes. That's what they did. They made it impossible for us to speak to Russia. Right? The biggest nuclear superpower. God forbid there was ever a conflict or a mistake or something, because they wanted to make up a narrative that would get them a couple extra votes. And when they lost, allow them to save a little face for the fact that they got beaten by a bunch of people who knew nothing about, like we were all like hoodlum. We didn't know anything about politics. The hell did we
that was the thing. You were the outsiders, right? How dare you as an outsider come in? They had a system that worked for the system, and all of a sudden it was getting shaken up by somebody who didn't know anything about the system. And it really was power to the people and the people having a voice. And I think that just, it clearly didn't go over well.